Alrighty. Oh. Hey everyone. So good to see you. Well, technically no one's here yet, so I guess it's good to see the possibility that people could show up. If Tyler shows up, I hope he's really happy that I got yet another t-shirt from his YouTube channel. For those of you that are watching this in the replay and aren't here live, the inside joke behind this t-shirt is that Tyler does not like Mario Kart Super Circuit, and neither do I. So this is meant to be like, well, this t-shirt may be a boring gray color, but at least it's not Mario Kart Super Circuit. The other inside joke on his channel is that he doesn't usually say the name Mario Kart Super Circuit when he brings it up. He just plays the losing music from Mario Kart 64 and then has the Super Circuit logo. So he's still keeping up with the inside joke of his channel. Oh, what was that just flashed? Oh, YouTube just changed the layout, so still getting used to it. But welcome in. I hope you guys will join me in the insane excitement I am feeling that tomorrow, assuming that there aren't any crazy disasters, will mark the 4th time that I have seen Esabelle and her sister in person. And it'll be the 2nd time that I have seen her brother-in-law in person. And to say that this is an exciting time would be an understatement. This time she's going to come visit me, so I'm going to be able to show her around. Well, depends on the weather. Where I live, it's quite cold, but hopefully I'll be able to show her and the gang a couple of sites. We're going to go swimming at one point. Maybe we'll play the Stanley Parable. I have an abridged version of my best games and best memories video, so hopefully they will enjoy all the little inside jokes I put in there. Esabelle actually didn't work all that much on my best games and my best memories videos of 2025. Like, obviously we did the opening and closing skits, but as far as like actually editing the videos, that was all pretty much me. And because I knew that going into it, a lot of the things that I said and a lot of the skits that like name dropped her were really just me being silly. Like, I wanted to pretend that like, oh, it's all her fault that the that the video is going terrible, when in reality she had no idea that I was doing most of it. I think she knew what some of the games would be, but I think to this day she still doesn't know the final list. There was something else. Oh, yes, I remember. So this morning, I got a really exciting email. Let me see if I can pull. I won't say who it's from. I want to preserve some anonymity, whatever the word is. I got an email from a developer that has an upcoming game, and the game does have a trailer. It's not a secret, but the reason why I'm not name dropping at present is because well, let me start from the beginning. So the developer reached out to me and said, we're a small indie team that has this project. We really like your content, and we especially want to make sure that you feel happy with the game. So I said, well, the game looks great and it sounds great based on the trailer. I just have a lot of trouble getting Steam to work on my computer. So I said, you'll have to try to get it to Switch or Switch 2. So then the developer wrote back pretty quickly, too, mind you. I just got this email this morning to put that into perspective. And the developer said, yeah, we might be able to have an announcement about a Switch or a Switch 2 release by the turn of the month. So that is why I'm keeping it a secret for now. Again, if you figure out what the game is, I don't think I'll be breaking any NDAs. But I was just so excited that ever since I made my video where I asked developers like, hey, here are my preferences. I've gotten so many amazing emails. I even got a review code a couple of years ago. I didn't end up reviewing the game, but I was still so honored that I'm at the point where I wouldn't say I have like an incredibly far reaching channel by any means, but enough indie devs are noticing my work. I think the earliest example, this was before I made my email public on my channel, of a developer being happy to, um, of a developer reaching out to me, being happy about my review, was when I reviewed Evergate, which to this day, I'm pretty sure is my most popular review that I've ever done. And the composer of the game reached out and said that any complaints that I had, he'd relay to the main team. And I didn't know it was the composer at first, so I just responded to him like I would respond to any other comment. And then he was so honored by what I said that he later sent me the entire soundtrack of the game for free. Oh, shoot. I just realized I don't know if I even have that soundtrack anymore because I think my Dropbox might have deleted it. Oh dear me. I better double check that sometime. Not now. I'm live streaming for you guys. Ooh, I did not realize that. Oh, I better fix that pretty soon. But anyway, that was the earliest example of where I got like, I just felt so honored that my platform could help me reach out to these developers that I love so much. And then around, I'd like to say either 2022 or 2023, another developer by the name of Luke Vincent, that's the name that shows on the game, so I'm not doxing. He said, "Hey, I was wondering if I could send you a code," and I said sure, and then I played the game. I wasn't able to beat it, but I still put it on my best memories video. And what else? And I've gotten a couple of other collab options. I just haven't been able to take anyone up on their offer yet. Just because the one collab that I was so close to doing required me to have a PayPal. And I have so much trouble with PayPal that I just said, I don't know. I don't think I can do it. But the person said, hey, if you're ever able to sort out your PayPal troubles, let me know and I will find a way to make it happen. But I did promise the person, hey, you know what? Even if I can't do the collab, if I ever, because it was an accessory, not a game, if I ever have need of this particular accessory, I will be sure to credit you guys with reaching out to me first. So I'm not saying any of this to brag or to try to like say that I'm better than anyone else. More so of I just feel like God is so good that he has prompted people to reach out and trust me with possibly covering their content on my channel, knowing here's another interesting thing about me is pretty much every email I've ever gotten from a developer saying, hey, I wish you would try out my game, has said something to the extent of, hey, Paul, I really appreciate how honest you are when you review games. Like, knowing that, you would expect that if the game turned out to be bad, that I would say, I don't know, like, say the game was $60 and I thought it was a mess. That developer would obviously have that expectation that I would be willing to call that out. Because you know me, I'm the type of guy that if I have the option, I will. Oh, thank you for whoever liked the stream. I'm not even sure what I did to deserve it, but thank you. I appreciate it. I'm the type of person that if I have an option to rent, I'll usually take it. But there is an upcoming game. And again, not an NDA disclosure or anything, because the game is on the eShop. It has a listing, so I got the developers of Duck Side of the Moon to reach out to me and say, hey, after seeing your little Gator game in the dark review, we think that you will really like our game. And the game's called Duck Side of the Moon. And it's coming out, I think it was May 7th, if I'm remembering correctly. And it has a Switch release date. When I first got the email, it didn't. But apparently, I must have been pretty good at convincing them because now it's on the way, and I said, hey, I plan on reviewing it. The price is good. If it's like little Gator game, I bet I'll love it. So let's sorry, I just heard someone upstairs talking, so I didn't want to interrupt. But you might be seeing yet another indie review. I've the thing about indie games is that I tend to like the indie games that I tend to really like. But the ones that I don't like, I tend to really not like, which makes me even more honored that so many developers have reached out to me because I only review games that I can beat. And as I've realized how many bad, like really bad games I've reviewed, I think it gives them more confidence to trust me with their projects because they can say, hey, we know that you're a bit of a picky person when it comes to video games, but yet we are going to take the risk that you could potentially call out our games. And no one has said that in those exact words, but I have made it quite clear that I don't want to take sponsorships. I don't want any money to be exchanged. Refunds, yes, but not paid advertisements or paid anything really. I'm a firm believer of the golden rule. For those of you that don't know, the golden rule is do to others what you have them do to you. And I do not like it when YouTubers sponsor something that just seems so totally unappealing. And I would think that the mass market would probably find it unappealing. To me, there's one sponsored video that, in my opinion, actually convinced me to want to get the product. And that was when, who else? The guy who made this t-shirt, Ty the One Up guy. He made a video on his channel. I'm not going to name drop it right now because I don't feel like looking it up. It was about Demon Tides. And as soon as I found out that there was going to be a Switch release, I was like, heck yeah, this actually does sound like my kind of game. And the entire video was sponsored, but it felt like, okay, this is Tyler we're talking about. He is like Mr. Authentic to end all Mr. Authentics. Like, if you want someone to just give a completely unfiltered, honest take on the kind of games that he likes and doesn't like, I don't trust anyone else to do it more than him. And so, with that in mind, and I also was fortunate enough that he told me in advance that he had a sponsored video coming. I went into it thinking, okay, I can actually trust Tyler's opinion when he makes a sponsorship. And so I think if I were to hypothetically ever take sponsors, which I won't, but if in an alternate timeline there's another Paul that exists that takes sponsorships, it would need to be something that is like on the level of Banjo and Kazooie getting into Smash Brothers. But it would also have to have the knowledge of knowing that my audience would like it. Because I may be clamoring for Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright to come to the Switch or the Switch 2. But does that mean anyone else is going to be excited? Honestly, I doubt it at this point. If I was able to convince people that Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright was a good game, I would get way more comments on my review than I do. Because people still comment on my old, ancient, and crusty reviews every now and then. But I feel like I'm the type of person that just, if I'm trying to promote something that I love, typically YouTube is not the way to go. But I really do not care because I have this incurable disease called thought vomiting. I'm sure you've heard of it every now and then. It's where I got the name of my sub-series on my channel called ISTJ Info Dumping. I I'm the type of person that if something's on my mind, I need to say it. Somehow, somewhere, be it a Facebook post or a video or calling a friend or something. I cannot just keep something in my head. And that is why, even if I know a video is not going to do well, I still have to put it out. In fact, some of the highest quality videos on my channel still have double-digit views. And again, it's my own stinking fault. I've come to accept that YouTube is the best way for me to simply regurgitate all these thoughts and all these feelings about my favorite video games and to just hope that people will like it. And if they don't like it, then at least I tried. And I've since come to the realization, especially with these live streams, especially with whoever is the one person watching this, according to my analytics, the people that like the stuff on my channel tend to not advertise it. And there's a certain blessing to that, I feel, because it keeps me from being too big headed. It allows me to still be humble enough to realize that my channel isn't perfect. It's not Scott the Waz. It's not Arlo. It's, it probably still has its fair share of haters. I still get dislikes here and there, but because I don't get swords of people coming after me and saying, "Oh my gosh, I'm salivating with joy over your videos," it helps me keep a level head and be like, I can still walk down the street to the gym and not get stopped and asked for my autograph. It's really, really nice. Um, I don't think anyone in my current town knows that I have a YouTube channel besides the people that I've specifically told. And when I did tell those people, they were like, "Wait, what? You have a YouTube channel? Since when?" So it came as this complete shock to them, even though my face has been on YouTube ever since 2013. January 1st, 2013. That's when I started uploading. And I had long hair. That's the other funny thing is I had long hair back then and people still haven't recognized me. Hello, Kevin. I'm sorry if I missed you just then. Either that or chat is off. Welcome in. What's going on? Oh, I have a lot that's going on. But while I'm saying what's going on with me, I want to hear what's going on with you. Any good news since the last live stream that you want to share? Again, please interrupt me because I don't want to be the only one talking. So, what's going on with me is one, meeting Esabelle tomorrow for the 4th time. Two, I got an email from a developer that said that a Switch port of a game that's already announced might be in the works but hasn't officially been announced for the Switch yet. So, I got privileged access that I may get a Nintendo release. I may also get a chance to talk to this developer in like a video call or something like that. There's another developer that reached out to me a couple of months ago that said, "Hey, we think you'd like this game." And I said, "Well, I wasn't able to get past the title screen when I tried the Steam demo. So if you guys ever have a Switch version, that's when I'll try it out." And just about a couple of days ago, maybe a week ago, I looked on the Switch eShop, and sure enough, it has a Switch release coming. So I think, I could be wrong, but I think that developer might have been inspired by our email conversation, by me saying, "Hey, if it comes on the Switch, I'll review it." So I emailed the developer back saying, "Hey, it's a reasonable price. I'll pick it up." Now I'm just waiting for a response. And the part of my brain that has anxiety is a little bit worried that my email might have come across the wrong way. I certainly hope not. I tried to phrase it as this genuine, like, guys, I'm super happy for you. This is amazing. That just a few months after we had that conversation saying, "Oh, I wish it was on Switch," it's getting a Switch release. Like, that's cool. That is so cool. And I just really hope that eventually my channel gets big enough where I can influence games that have already come, which I have actually done that in the past. So what's to say that it won't happen again? For those of you that are newer to this channel, I once made a video called The 2 Times I Impacted Gaming, or something to that extent. And those 2 times were, 1, I signed Arlo's petition to get Thousand Year Door remastered, and I know for a fact, or at least 99% of a fact, that Nintendo did acknowledge that petition, because in the special thanks section of the credits, it said, "and you," in all capital letters at the very end of it. I mean, I'm not good at reading between the lines, but even I can tell that they're like, yeah, we saw you guys. I also voted for Banjo and Kazooie in the Smash ballot, only to get confirmation that they were the second highest voted characters in the Smash ballot. Been busy with boilers, paperwork for the state exam. Oh goodness, you must have a really demanding job if you're working with boilers. Dang, that is cool. Like, what kind of stuff do you do with the boilers? Do you fix them? Do you supply them? Like, well, you don't have to answer that if that's personal. I used to work as a dishwasher, so that's the closest I've ever come to dealing with boilers, because we had to put our hands in extremely hot water. For a long time, I think that's what contributed to me having dry hand syndrome, or whatever you call it, because I would come home and my hands would just be covered in scabs and cuts. And I would say, blame it on the hot water for making my skin be peeling all the time. Or like, because the water was either too filthy or there was too much soap in it, or both. Sometimes I'd get cut by the dishes in the sinks. I still have a scar on this finger. I don't know if you can see it with the camera. Oh, I can see it from here, so you guys better be able to see it. I got that from a vegetable peeler. And to this day, I have told people, if you're ever going to get me to wash the dishes, don't make me wash vegetable peelers. Because I almost had to go to the hospital, but my boss was this super pragmatic guy that just, he didn't care too much for the rules. So as soon as he heard, he said, "You don't got to go to the hospital. I'm just going to wrap up your finger in a paper towel, and you're just going to go like this for the rest of the day, because that's what gets the blood flowing properly." And so he said, "You just spend the rest of your shift going like this, and you'll be fine." And I did, and I was fine. I just have that tiny little scar. Doesn't even hurt anymore. But now I can say, guess what, guys? I have a moon on my pointer finger. Not that anyone's ever going to notice, but I don't know. I always thought I don't know why. I was so stupid when I was a kid, but I always thought it would be cool to have a scar. And now that I do have one, it's not that cool at all. Like, it doesn't hurt. I don't even feel it when I touch it. But I don't know. There was something about me that I liked. I liked this idea that there was something about me that would be unique. Like, I wanted people to look at me and say, there's no one else like Paul. Like, the cuts he has and the acne that he has and his weight and his hair, it's so entirely him, with one exception. If people ever mistook me for having someone that looked like me, and they thought that that person was my sister or my brother, that's when I would say, okay, now I like looking like them. Because people always say that my siblings and I don't look alike, and, I can kind of see that. But if you really, really were to squint at family pictures, you would see a few similarities here and there. Like, for one, we're all brunettes, or as I like to call us, the brownie bunch. We didn't all used to have brown hair. In fact, every single one of us did not start out as having brown hair. It just happened over time. We didn't dye it, nothing of the sort. For me personally, I just got a haircut when I was really young, and ever since then, my hair like plooped downward, because it used to be like really upward and curly, and now it's this, which is kind of a curly straight hybrid depending on the day. Because I just washed my hair and I didn't comb it right after, it has a little bit of a wave to it. But you'd be surprised how many people will say, like, Paul, you have pin straight hair. It's probably chemicals and hot water. Both make your skin drier. Yeah. Oh, I agree. Ever since I stopped washing dishes, my hands have gotten significantly less cuts. But It's also had the unfortunate side effect that now I am hyper obsessed with my nails. Like, even if my nails get the slightest bit long, I am just like, where's the nail cutter? Give it to me quickly. There have even been times where I've been hanging out with a friend and I'll say, "Yo, I got to hurry up and cut my nails." "Hey, it's Leo. Welcome in." Um, I guess technically you'd be considered late because I started at 5, but I haven't been partying. So you at least have that. I will summarize what I said though. First off, you can probably tell by the title of the live stream, but I am meeting up with Esabelle in person tomorrow, and it'll be from then until Monday. If you don't know who Esabelle is, she was my former editor on this channel, and she used to be just a commenter. And then I found out that she had a YouTube channel of her own, and that led to us talking on Twitter, and that led to us talking on the phone. And now we've met up in person quite a few times. Got an email from a developer saying a Switch version of an announced game might be in the works, but can't give specifics right now. I've been in such good conversations with developers on emails, so that's been just amazing. And then I saw the Mario movie. I think I told you that already, but just in case you forgot, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Think it might be even better than the first one, and that's saying something. You're a custodian for the schools? Oh, okay. Very nice. Okay. I think I would technically have been considered a custodian at my first job because I worked at a college. I just didn't go to the college. But I did not like it there by the later years. I think I've mentioned this a few times on this channel. I hope you'll forgive me if this comes across as rude, but oh, silly me! I forgot to ask how you're doing, Leo. Any good news or any thing you're looking forward to since last time we talked? Yeah, I did not like it at that college near the later years. Like at first, I loved it. Like the first couple of years that I worked at that job, I just absolutely loved it. I loved going into work, even when I had bad days. I would be happy to go in when it was less busy because I loved my coworkers and we got along really well. I think there were only like one or two coworkers that I ever didn't get along with, but they quit by the time I quit. So by the time I quit, I liked everyone at my job. I had really good bosses for the most part. For the most part, in very much underlined. But I was threatened by one person in the cafeteria. I had I had quite a lot of people that didn't like me there. And not only did they not like me, but they like kind of went out of their way to make sure that their friends didn't like me either. Um, I'm no stranger to bullying, but the thing is that the bullying that they did at that college was much more overt than anything that I had experienced before. Because the bullying I experienced in the past was subtle. It was like people would talk behind my back and then I'd find out years after the fact. That kind of bullying. But this was just like I disagree with you and I'm going to call the authorities on you if you don't backtrack, like that kind of bullying. Everything is good. Learning to use Blender. Now, um, I'm a bit of a literal thinker, so you'll have to forgive me for this, but when you say blender, do you mean like an editing software or like a blender for food? Because I've never heard of blender with a capital B. Threatened. Well, I don't remember the name of who threatened me, but this was I think a year or two before I quit, and maybe I won't say anymore, just because I said a lot of heated stuff in my last live stream, and just in case people don't want to hear me repeat that, let's just say I'm no longer in touch with that person. I've kind of gone out of my way to like just, I don't want to say door slam, but like I don't really reach out to people from that school anymore. Like, I do technically still have a couple of Facebook friends from that school, but I don't really talk to them anymore except for like birthday wishes. Hey, Matthew, glad you could make it in. What's been going on with you lately? Have you played Super Mario Brothers Wonder Switch 2 Edition outside of when we played together? Oh, Jevil, you knew that I would love the fact that that wasn't in the Mario movie. But don't say anything else. It's still way too early for spoilers. But you can give an overview about what you liked about the movie. Just don't say like, oh, I like that this character was in it. Like don't say anything like that. You can just say like, oh, I like the music. But anything else big from your end? A 3D modeling software. Well, I am so excited for you, Leo, because my drawing skills, if you've ever seen my review of the video game Century of Anticipation, that's about how good my drawing skills are. Like, I've even proven it on some of my reviews. Like, if you look up my reviews of Animal Crossing New Horizons Switch 2 Edition, I drew on the billboard. Um, uh, I drew it with Switch 2's mouse mode, and then in my Century of Anticipation review, which in and of itself has an art style that looks like how I draw, I tried to draw on the billboard in that game. So if you just do not believe me, you're like, Paul, you're a wonderful drawer. You're just being hard on yourself. Prove it. Like, I just proved it there. Go and watch it. Well, you don't have to, but April 15th. If you really want to, Jevel, I can do that. I'll just have to make sure that I'll put a pinned message that says, we are going to spoil the Mario movie. Okay, I'll take you up on that. Because I know you want to talk about it. I want to talk about it. I just don't want to ruin it for people. Because it's still, like, it's only been out for a week. And some people just don't have time to see it on opening day like I did. Which, fun fact, the Mario movie was actually only the second movie in history that I saw on opening day. I didn't see it opening night. I saw it at the evening showing, the day that it came out. And it was only the second movie in history that I saw when it came out. The first was Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2. Yeah, I know. Real winner of a choice there. I don't think it's a controversial opinion to say that I did not like that movie. To be fair, I didn't like the book either. But the movie just, it didn't make a good case for me changing my mind about the movie. But we are getting, it just went from 6 to 4. I was literally just about to say, oh my gosh, we got 6 people watching. That's incredible. But I always jinx it every time I do that. So maybe I should just shut up. You still think the first Mario movie was better? Okay, so here's my non-spoiler synopsis about why I think Mario Galaxy movie is better. If you watched my review of the 2 Galaxy games when they got the Switch remasters, or no, maybe it was in my best games, one of the 2. I said that the reason I like Galaxy 2 better than Galaxy 1 is because when I replayed Super Mario Galaxy 2 for that review, there was only one galaxy that I said, oh no, not this one. I dread revisiting it. Galaxy 1, I think maybe like almost half of the galaxies I said that to. So when I looked at the Mario Galaxy movie and I picked out all the scenes that I didn't like and contrasted it with the scenes I didn't like in the first Mario movie, there were way more scenes where I just wanted to hit the forward button on the first Mario movie. Like the entirety of Peaches, for example. I still cannot stand that song. Every time the licensed music was on, it made me want to mute it. Besides that, I did like the rest of the first Mario movie. But, in the Galaxy movie, the only thing I didn't like about it was kind of fast-paced and, like, the sequence of events felt a bit, like, unorganized compared to the first movie. Like, the first movie had, like, a very clear structure. Like, okay, this led to this, which led to this. And it was like, developing the characters. Whereas Galaxy, it's like, okay, 1 minute we're here, the next minute we're here, and then we're switching perspectives. It was kind of all over the place, but I still loved it nonetheless. My reaction, are you I'm wondering, Kevin, are you secretly going on a crusade to get me to have 1,000 viewers? Cuz like it seems like every single time we come onto a chat, you bring that up. And I find that so funny because when I first started live streaming, I didn't think I'd get more than 3 people on these live streams. I thought that my live streams would be too boring because everyone else was doing like gaming stuff, and here I was just talking. You're acting just like me when I get an email from a developer. Because I haven't technically signed an NDA, but I have gotten early access to a game that's coming out. And the developer has promised that I would get a review code. The developer originally said I'd get access to it if the developer originally said you just flat out get access, but then I figured out that Steam doesn't work too well on my computer, so I said sorry, but I'm going to have to turn it down. But if it's on the Switch, that's another story. And then the developer said, oh, well, I'll definitely give you a review code if it comes on Switch. Just don't expect it anytime soon. That might change, though. And if it does, you know I'm good at not spoiling stuff. So, but I feel so honored that my channel has gotten at least a tiny little bit more reach. Without spoiler, a certain supporting character more than the main character. Yeah, there were some cool characters in the Galaxy movie. I wouldn't say anything was like up there with like the Mario RPGs in terms of character development, but I have the unpopular opinion that, and maybe this isn't unpopular. You guys will have to let me know. I actually really like Mario's characterizations in the movie. And I kind of wish the game Mario would talk like that. Like, I think he does in the Thousand Year Door. Like, when you play Thousand Year Door and you get the option to select what Mario says in response to people, I do feel like that is how Chris Pratt portrayed him. Because, like, we all know Mario from the mainline games is like his entire vocabulary is basically just yippee and wahoo. But he says a lot more than that in the Thousand Year Door games. Like, there's one response you can make him say where he says, yeah, I zoned out. What was that? Or the name's Mario. And one of my favorites is "You're darn Skippy." It's like, yeah, you never would have expected Mario saying that. I feel like they could have done more fighting scenes and more scenes Yoshi exploring. Yeah, I would agree, but the scenes that they did show were very good. Personally, I'm the type of weirdo where I know I talk about wanting stories in video games a lot, but in movies, I'm a little bit different. Like when I watch Star Wars Revenge of the Sith, I'm not going in for the plot. I'm going in because I'm like, Hayden and Ewan are like phenomenal lightsaber duelists. And the fact that they had no stunt doubles was just, it just blew my mind. And the music is just so good and the cinematography is so good. It's hard to believe that that's a movie from 2005. And so when I went into the Galaxy movie, I expected a little bit of story, and I did get a little bit of story. And that little bit of story made me go like this in the theater. I was like, okay, okay. And I'm pretty sure my sister, who was sitting next to me, was like, huh? Huh? I'm like, oh, you know it. Because my sister and I were so in sync that sometimes we can finish each other's sentences. And we had literally, we were talking about what we were expecting in the car. And I just said, oh, wouldn't it be funny if this happened? And then it did. And we got out of the theater, and both of us were just, in one way or another, just said, yep, we called it. And we just felt so proud of ourselves. Because again, I'm not the type of guy that's good at predicting stuff. Like, if you were to look at all the things that I predicted for Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, pretty much none of them came true. I've since gotten a little bit better. Like when I was playing No Sleep for Kaname Date, I'm pretty sure I predicted most of that game's plot. But then again, that game had such a terrible story anyway. I think there was another game that I predicted quite a lot of it. I just don't remember. Having a final smash move on the big anim... I know exactly what you're talking about. And that was amazing. I I'm a sucker for deep cuts in movies. And the first Mario movie did a phenomenal job of being like, "Whoa, they're pulling from that source material." And the Galaxy movie ended up doing more of that. And honestly, I think it did it even better. I think for the first Mario movie, my favorite deep cut reference was when they just played the theme song of the Super Mario Bros. Super Show. I was just like, Nintendo acknowledged the Super Mario Bros. Super Show? That is so cool. Um, Put it this way, Jevil. I've played pretty much every Mario RPG that's ever come out. I think the only one I haven't played was the original version of Bowser's Inside Story. I haven't played, but that's it. I've played all the other ones. And in Bowser's Diary in Paper Mario 64, he talks about wanting to marry Peach. So it's not like this is a brand new revelation. Super Mario Odyssey, he flat out says within the opening cutscene that he wants to marry Peach. Super Paper Mario, that game's opening cutscene has Bowser and Peach in an arranged wedding. Super Smash Brothers Ultimate has not one but two spirit battles that have references to Bowser and Peach liking each other. So it's something that's been explored in the Mario universe, I would say probably since 1996. Because in that game, there was a scene where Peach said, "If you find my items, I will let you like kiss me romantically." And if you do it wrong, as I did, um, Bowser and Booster accidentally end up kissing Mario instead of Peach because she ducks out of the way. So yes, I think if their justification for putting Peaches in was, we have to make it clear to the audience that Bowser wants Peach romantically. It's like, really? You could have just played the games. It was pretty obvious. She did Mario dirty in Mario Odyssey. Honestly, if I was a girl in that scene, I would have rejected Mario as well. Because I personally, one, I don't like flowers. Two, I don't like love triangles. So if I were to find out that there were two girls that liked me and were both fighting for my attention, I'd say, now I don't want to be with either of you because I do not like love triangles. I am a committed guy. And when I was with my girlfriend, yes, I still hung out with. Um, oh, I was talking about the ending of Mario Odyssey. Whoops, did I just spoil that? I'm sorry. Um, what was I saying? Yeah, I hung out with my female friends, but I definitely was just like, I do not want to be romantically involved with any other girls, and I don't want you to be romantically involved with any other guys. Um, the Super Mario Brothers movie scene where Mario was damaged by Bowser and kept remembering from his father. Yeah, yeah, I do think Bowser made a really good final battle in Brooklyn. I thought that was very nice. Um, Here's the thing. Yes, Mario risked his life to save her, but at the same time, I don't think Peach ever really saw Mario as a serious romantic interest. I think she liked flirting, and if she didn't, I think she did a terrible job of hiding it. But keep in mind, in the games, and mind you, I've played pretty much every Mario spin off, I've played all the RPGs. Peach very rarely gives Mario a romantic kiss. Like, she kisses him on the nose in Super Mario 64. For all the people out there that say, oh, well, Peach. Oh, that was one of the first things my girlfriend and I talked about when we first started dating. Is I said, I do not want you to um, prevent me from just hanging out with platonic friends. Um, because I have a lot of friends, and I mean a lot of friends, and a lot of them are women, and a lot of them are already in relationships, and they have super trusting husbands or boyfriends. And that's just a deal breaker to me. If someone is so exclusive that they prevent you from having friends. Like if I ever date a girl again, I'm just going to be transparent with her and just be like, you better let me hang out with my friends as friends. Doesn't mean I'm cheating on you. I would love to rewatch the Mario Galaxy movie, Jevil. Um, Mainly just because the theater where I saw it at, some scenes are really loud and some scenes are really quiet, but I think that's just a problem that that theater has in general. I don't think that's a problem with the movie. But that's why I think a lot of people on dating websites didn't like me on Facebook, because my profile picture has my friend in it, and we structured it in such a way that because we look so much alike, that if you were just looking at it from a distance, you would have a hard time telling which one was me and which one was her. And a lot of girls would say, like, it looks like you're in a relationship because you have another girl in the picture. And I would always come back with, yeah, because she's my friend. Why shouldn't I have my friend in my picture? And I get so mad at, I haven't gone on dating websites in years as a result, but women on dating websites can be absolutely insufferable. Like, they always use, well, I shouldn't say always, the ones that I've encountered have used the biological clock as a means for shaming me for taking my time when I want to figure out my options. She'll say, "Yo, the biological clock is ticking. You better hurry up and ask me out. And then we only can be dating for like a couple of months. And then you have to pop the question." And I'm just like, "Whoa, slow down, girl. This is the rest of my life we're talking about. I can't just commit on the spot like that." And it wasn't just one, it was so many examples. And then one girl was like hitting on me and she said, "Hey, you should be open to accepting friend requests from girls." And so I said, "All right, I'll try accepting a friend request." And then she said, "I feel like we're not a good friend match." And then she unfriended me and never spoke to me again. Then there was another girl that got mad at me because I wanted to video chat with her because she liked Luigi's Mansion. And after an hour, just because I didn't fall in love with her, she decided that she never wanted to talk to me again. So I'm just like, what is it with these people where they act like they're super interested in you? And then when it doesn't work out romantically, then they pretend like you never existed. Like, I hate that with a passion. I go in with the mindset of friends first, date later. And you'd be surprised how many girls just absolutely hate it when I say that. But a lot of my best female friends went into that mindset when they got their significant others. And as a result, they are some of the happiest girls I've ever met. Some are more territorial. Is that fair to say? Oh, that's 100% fair. But guys have their problems too on dating sites. I don't want to pretend like it's, girls are these horrible, evil creatures and guys have no faults. I just, as a heterosexual guy, I don't experience the bad stuff that guys do on dating websites, but I've heard from my female friends what they do. I don't remember most of the horror stories, but I have heard a couple where they'll like ask about wanting to have sex on the first date. Like, oh, that is just disgusting. Like, even if you're an atheist, like, calm down, dude. Not everything has to be about sex. We're getting another Mario movie in the future. Considering that it took them 3 years to make the Mario Galaxy movie, I'm fairly certain whenever we get the next Mario movie, it'll probably be in like 2029 at the soonest, just because animation takes time. Yeah, yeah, she ended up dumping that guy, thankfully. Um, I do remember um, I do remember having a pretty good track record of whenever my female friends would tell me about who they were dating. Usually, whenever I'd have a bad feeling about the guy and then I'd say that to them, it ended up being an unofficial "I told you so" moment. It's happened on quite a few occasions where, like, I have one friend that, and we mention this all the time now that she's happily married, but every single other guy she dated, I said, "Oh, he's a piece of work, ditch him." But then when she started dating her now husband, I said, "Oh, he's a keeper. You better hold on to him." And then they got married, like, I think a year later or something like that. It was a really quick turnaround. And to this day, I think because of that, she will call me her best friend now, because I think she was just so happy that I approved of the man she ended up marrying. I've also told other girls, like, "Hey, you know what? I don't think you should be with that guy. He's a real piece of work." And she'll say, "But he's different and he's proven to be so sweet." And I'm just like, "No, no, he's got these factors going against him." And sure enough, didn't end up working out. So I don't pride myself on my intuition very much, but when I do, it's like, you better listen. Because I'm the type of guy that I don't typically like symbolism, don't like hidden meanings, any of that. But every now and then when it does come, people never take me seriously because they know, oh, he's the realist. He's not the type of guy that's good at predicting the future or seeing bad signs. So if he's crying wolf, we're not going to believe him. That's the unfortunate curse I've run into, unfortunately. Is it a sin to care for one's friends? Is what I have to ask you earnestly. Apparently, the answer is yes in some circles. But enough about girls for now. Just in case there are any female viewers that want to come in and don't want to talk about them. Right now, well, first let me address Jevil. This next year we are getting Sonic 4. I haven't even seen Sonic 1, so I hope I'll be able to get to that point at some point. I do want to see it. It's just it hasn't been rentable. As of now, my queue is just too full with upcoming games to want to rent the movie. Because like I said, if I have the option to rent something, I will typically do that over buying it. Speaking of rentals, I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a glimpse into a couple of future games I'll be reviewing. First off, I have Bubsy 4D. That's something I'm cautiously optimistic about. It's made by the same devs as Demon Tides, and I've heard a lot of people say good things about that. Whenever that gets a Switch review, I plan on doing that. Um, Tomodachi Life, I don't know how much I'll like it. I like the demo, but who knows? I plan on renting it at the very least. Shoot and Order is finally getting a physical version. I know that came out in 2025, but it was $50, and I was just like, no way! I'm waiting for this to be rentable, and now it is. You're going to try to skip the trailer for the movie and see how that works out for you? Good for you, Jevil. Honestly, I skipped all the trailers for the Mario movie except for the one in the direct that revealed it. And then I was so happy, and I mentioned this in my review, that that trailer didn't end up showing any scenes from the movie. It was all just, it was made specifically for that trailer, and I felt so happy about that. All of a sudden, my hand just started falling asleep, so might have to do a little stretching. But yeah, those are a couple of games I'm looking forward to. Danganronpa 2x2. I'll probably rent that as well, just because I was thinking about buying it, just because I love Danganronpa 2. It's my favorite of the series. But then I realized after playing 100 Line Last Defense Academy, this is the company that had one of the endings be basically glorified hentai and had literally nothing that added to the narrative at all. If they decide to do that again, I might not even review it. We'll see. Or at the very least, I will put it lower on my recommendations list. So I figured if there's even a chance that I have to go through that torture again, I will I'm not going to outright buy it, because if I were to buy it, that would tell the developers that this kind of stuff is okay to do. That's why I didn't buy 100 Line. Well, I bought 100 Line at a discount after I realized that I needed to queue up space in my rental. But then, after I got the true ending, then I sent it back and got a refund, or I traded it in. So I made sure to buy it so that I wasn't supporting the developers as much, but only so that I had more space in my rental queue. I think I paid like $30 for it when it would have cost $60. So that's how you do it, guys. In the Mario Galaxy movie, all the Mario Direct trailers were scene for scene. I've watched a couple of the trailers after the movie came out, and I have to say, yeah, I think they left out most of the biggest scenes, but I still would have liked to have been way more surprised. How was my Easter? Um, it was pretty good. I went to mass at the church where I assistant teach catechism. I got to talk to um, one of the high school girls that's in the music ministry, and her mother. I get along with them pretty well. Um, the music was decent, even if some of the kids in the choir were singing off key. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to celebrate with my family because my mom got sick, and my nieces and nephews have such a bad immune system that they just said, yeah, we don't want to risk them getting sick, because one of them gets sick, they all get sick. So we're going to reschedule, but my birthday is on the 20th of this month. So even though my family hasn't said anything yet, if they're listening, maybe we'll have Easter and my birthday on the same day. We'll see. We'll see if it ends up happening. But as far as birthday plans, because I know one of you is going to ask, Esabelle and her sister have both hinted that they'll be doing something for my birthday. Did I get any chocolate? I don't know yet. I do know that my sister got me an Easter basket that had a poppy that was watermelon flavored, which that's my favorite flavor of poppy. And I've gotten a couple of fruit bars that have like very organic ingredients in them because I'm trying to eat healthier. Like, I'm not giving up sugar altogether, but I'm like being more selective about when I get sugar and what's in it. Although I do have a doctor's appointment on the 24th, just to check up, nothing major. And I'm going to flat out ask her, is it okay if I have a Celsius once a month? Because I'm working out a lot more. I don't know if you guys have noticed, my arms have gotten stronger. I walk to and from the gym whenever I work out. I can do the heaviest difficulty on the hip abductor. So I'm clearly exercising, and I'm clearly a pretty good build, I think. It's just that I need to have clarification that a tiny little bit of splurging isn't going to cause me to have dementia. Because that's the big problem now is my family has done some research into like stuff like genetically modified ingredients and bioengineering, and they realize that stuff is really bad for you. So I'm basically on a GMO-free diet. It's not a strict diet. Like, sometimes if I'm desperate, I'll go to Burger King and I'll splurge. But like for my regular meal, when I'm just like going to eat lunch, like it's pretty much all GMO free, all bioengineered free. And if there's any sugar, it's a pretty minimal amount. Beyond the Spider-Verse. Oh, I am so excited for that movie. Honestly, Across the Spider-Verse is my favorite movie at present. Even better than the Mario Galaxy movie, if you can believe it. And it has felt like the wait is just way too long. So I don't think anyone is more excited than me, because you all know. Maybe you don't. I don't know how many. I'm gonna ask this to all of you. How many of you knew what my favorite franchise in gaming is? Not my favorite game. You all know my favorite game is Tears of the Kingdom. My favorite franchise in video gaming is Zero Escape. Every single game in the trilogy is like A++ for me. Like, if I had to give like a number to all of them, 999 would be like a 94, Virtuous Esther Ward would be like a 96, and Zero Time Dilemma would be like a 97. They're all like just such phenomenal games. And once you like look at all three of them in context of each other, Oh, best story I've ever heard in any medium. I haven't watched any trailers for Beyond the Spider-Verse either, Jevil, so I definitely hope that, I hope you won't say anything. All I know is it exists, and that's what I'm hoping to stay at. What does RPG mean in this context, Jevil? I'm not sure I understand what you're getting at. I did want to quickly say that I forgot to mention Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave in the games that I'm excited for. Um, no, I said favorite franchise. No, RPGs aren't my favorite genre of games. My favorite genre of games are adventure games. So, like Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, Twilight Princess, Little Gator Game, those kinds of games are my favorite genre. Visual novels, yeah, depends on the visual novel. Like, it has to have at least some gameplay to it. I would say, like, Ace Attorney, Zero Escape, Doki Doki Literature Club. Those are some visual novels I love. Your favorite genre of game is RPGs. No, 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 not RPGs. I know your favorite video game is Deltarune. It doesn't mean you necessarily like RPGs. Hmm. Hmm. I'm gonna guess platformers because you do talk about Mario quite a lot. I could be wrong, but that's just my educated guess. But I do know your favorite game is Deltarune because I mean your name kind of gives it away. Did anyone know that Jevil's name came from a character in Deltarune? I'd be very curious if you guys didn't know that. I knew that from the beginning because I love Deltarune. And I did 100% chapter. No, I didn't 100% it. I beat the secret boss of it. I did for chapter 2 as well. Chapters 3 and 4, that was the breaking point for me as far as like going above and beyond because the Zelda parody section was just too frustrating for me. So I just said, I am going to just beat the game. Who is Esabelle, my former editor, and a really good friend of mine. But welcome in Gordem. Gordem. I'm not sure what I should be saying there. Do you have a nickname that you'd like me to call you? And welcome in. Glad you can make it. Love your profile picture, by the way. My favorite color is also blue. What kind of stuff do you like? Like, do you like video games? Do you like movies? Um, and you have any good news? I know I need a better opening question, but that's what I ask everyone when I'm at the gym. I always ask people, "What's your good news? What are you excited about?" I started doing that because I was tired of asking people how they were doing, and all they'd say is good. So I was like, no, no, I want to hear your good news because then you actually have to answer. You have a mixed bag. You play a lot of platformers. Second would be puzzles and dungeon crawlers. Okay. Okay. You know, now that you say that, I shouldn't have been surprised because you do really like Zero Escape a lot as well. Heck, you're probably the biggest fan of Zero Escape in this chat besides me, which I never thought I'd say that. Oh, I hope that gets ported, but I doubt it. Just because I feel like the creators of Danganronpa and Zero Escape are so busy with 100 Line and Shoot in Order, and if there's going to be a sequel to Master Detective Archives, the ending hinted at it, but I don't know if it's going to happen. And then Danganronpa 2x2, I don't know. I just think they might be too busy. I know that there's now a separate company called Tokyo Games that has former members of Spike Chunsoft in it, where their goal is to like combine those two divisions that made Zero Escape and Danganronpa and like make more games like that. So I don't know. I mean, that's what 100 Line turned out to be. It was basically like Danganronpa and Zero Escape put together, along with some Fire Emblem and Persona elements. Almost every time in your console you see random dungeon crawlers. You get addicted to those like Arch Rivals, Portal 2 is a dungeon crawler. Never would have expected that. I would have called that more of a puzzle shooter, but what do I know? I'm not much of a dungeon crawler guy. Trying to think, do I play any dungeon crawlers? Probably Zelda is the closest I would come. I played Hades. I beat it. Hades is the kind of game that technically to beat it, you have to beat it 8 times. I beat it, I think, 3 times before I said, okay, this is just stupid. Um, I am not going to keep replaying a game over and over again just to see the credits. So that was one of the few reviews where I cheated a little bit. And I just said, hey, I got to the ending 3 times. I just was tired of continuing to get that ending. Archville? What's Archville? What was I going to say? But yes, I know 100 Line doesn't get talked about enough, but if you have a non-spoiler guide that tells you which endings not to get, I highly recommend playing the game like that because some of them are just such a waste of time, honestly. And to be fair, they have updated the game since then to make them more manageable. Like when I played, you had to like hold down the button for like longer than I would care to admit to skip the cutscenes, and that doesn't sound like a lot. But keep in mind, I got approximately 75 out of the 100 endings, and it adds up after a while. And that's why it took me approximately 3 months to get the true ending. I wish I was exaggerating. But I think the game came out in like, I think it was March or April, and it took me until around June. So definitely the kind of game you want a non-spoiler guide for. Have I played The Witness? No, I have not. Um, I think it's rentable. I just have to see if it's my kind of game. Because I have played a few puzzle games that I ended up not liking. Like I played Braid when that came to the Switch, and oh boy, was that rough. I appreciate that it came to the Switch, and I like how it had like the developer commentary in there, but at the same time, it's just not my kind of game. I needed more accessibility than that. It just didn't do it for me. I'll have to look that up though. It has a Switch 2 edition. I'll have to look up if Braid Switch 2 edition has any special features. Like if it does have accessibility, maybe I will actually play it. That is such a stupid title though. Braid Anniversary Edition Switch 2 edition. It's like saying Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition Switch 2 edition. It's like if you're already calling it Definitive Edition, why is there another edition on top of that? That's just going to confuse the heck out of everyone. Okay, so it doesn't look like there's any more quality of life. It looks like there's just better resolution, 120 frames per second, better textures, more commentary, blah, blah, blah. Nope. $20 to upgrade. Ridiculous. Yeah, I generally don't like hard games all that much. I'm the type of guy that I prefer to make my own challenge. So like when I played Arzette, the Jewel of Faramore, I played at the easiest difficulty first, and I worked my way up to one-shot mode at my own pace. And then by the time I did do a one-shot mode, it only took me 3 tries. And after I beat one-shot mode, the reward that I got for beating it was cheat codes. And one of the cheat codes was the ability to play in CDI mode, where it looked like it was playing off of Philips CDI. And it was one of the most broken, buggy messes I've ever seen in a game. But again, if you know what RZ is, you would consider that to be the best reward for 100% completion ever. In fact, I am going to just say that right now. That is the best 100% achievement award I've ever gotten is CDI mode. It depends on the game for me. Like, when I played Final Fantasy VII Remake, I played on normal most of the time because easy was just too easy. But some games are just more frustrating than they are fun. Like Mario versus Donkey Kong, for example. You have to go all the way back to the beginning of a level if you get hit. And it also has a time limit. So when you play in casual mode, it removes the time limit and it also lets you get hit a couple of times and then gets you to a checkpoint pull. So for me, I don't like timers and I don't like insta-death stuff. So I was just like, oh, I'm definitely going to casual mode. But for something like Kirby and the Forgotten Land, I played that on wild mode the whole time because I was like, it's a Kirby game. It's probably going to be stupid easy as it is. The final boss was pretty tough, though. I will give it that. But I still haven't beaten the Ultimate Cup Z Edition. Oh yeah, no, the remake was amazing. I think it was better than the GBA version in every way except for the voice acting. I do think Mario talked quite a lot more on the Game Boy Advance, and I missed that. But the remake, it had live instrumentation, it had gorgeous visuals. They got Charles Martinet back. You know, that was after he was the Mario ambassador. The voice acting for the other characters, like Donkey Kong, was just so much better. And then I liked how they had the 2 extra worlds, which were Slippery Summit and Miniland Mayhem, or whatever it's called. Merry Miniland, that's what it's called. Miniland Mayhem was a game. But yeah, I did beat the GBA version recently, if you saw my review. How old is Charles Martinet? I will look that up right now. How old is... I think he just turned 70, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. He was born in 1955. So he will be turning 71 this year. For a guy that old, it's amazing how well he can still do the Mario voice. Yeah, that's pretty incredible. And a lot of people have said that that's the main reason why they got rid of Charles as the main voice of Mario, is because they said, dude, the guy, I think at the time that they got rid of him, he was like 67, and they were like, we don't want a 67-year-old playing someone who's supposedly 25, according to an interview with Miyamoto. Look it up if you don't believe me. And that's why I think they replaced him with Kevin Afghani. I think that's one of the reasons. Personally, I know you guys are going to be annoyed by it. I'm going to do it anyway. If ever I review a game again that has Charles Martinet in it, I am just going to keep spamming those clips of him doing the voices because personally, I feel like Nintendo really mishandled him a lot. Charles is just too polite to speak against it, I think. Like, sure, he did the 40 questions for Charles Martinet on Nintendo Today, which is cool. I loved that. But boy, can you tell that he was skirting around the stuff that was bothering him. Like, he didn't mention Super Mario Bros. Wonder at all. He only mentioned Mario games that he worked on. He didn't mention the Mario movie at all. In fact, he's never been in a single Mario movie interview. And this is Charles Martinet we're talking about. This, like, I met him in person, so I can attest to this firsthand. He is one of those, like, larger than life, super outgoing and exuberant people where, like, he doesn't just say, hey, how are you? He's like, hey, how are ya? So good to meet you. Like, his whole body just radiates joy. He does not sound like the type of person who'd be too shy for an interview. I think he was too offended that they only gave him a cameo. And yeah, I just think Nintendo did him dirty, in my opinion. Yeah, no, I liked him as Mario's dad. And I liked him as Giuseppe. I just think he could have played Mario in the movie. They could have just told him, okay, tone it down, make it more Brooklyn accent than an Italian accent. Charles could have easily done that. Like, for crying out loud, he plays the babies. He plays Baby Mario and Baby Luigi. And I honestly think, if I hadn't told you guys that, I don't think you would have known that. I didn't know that until just recently. But yeah, a 70-year-old man that knows how to sound like a convincing baby. He could have easily done a 25-year-old voice. But if they had to go with Chris Pratt, I do think he was good enough for what the Mario movie was trying to do with his character. Because I like the Mario movie's portrayal of Mario. I think he was a nice everyman. Charles Martinet did Donkey Kong? I'm gonna look that up. I don't think he ever did. Did Charles Martinet play Donkey Kong? I know Koji Igarashi, the guy who plays Donkey Kong now, played him in the movie. Charles Martinet did not play Donkey Kong. He voiced the character before the role was taken over by Takashi Nagasako. Interesting. Okay, it has Charles Martinet's Wikipedia here. I'm pretty sure Grant Kirkhope was actually the first voice of Donkey Kong. And that's, I think, who you were referring to. Alright. Let's see here. He's voiced a lot of different characters besides just Mario. I'm not seeing Donkey Kong on here. I'll look later. But no, I think you're referring to Grant Kirkhope, because he did the voice of Donkey Kong in Donkey Kong 64. And then after that, Takashi Nagasako took over. And then after him was Koji Igarashi, which, again, he was the guy that voiced him in the Mario movie in the Japanese version. And apparently they liked his portrayal so much that they said, now we want you to voice him in the games. And I think that's why Takashi got replaced. Although, I have heard Takashi wasn't 100% replaced, as he also voiced Cranky Kong in Donkey Kong Country Returns, and apparently like all of Cranky's lines in Bonanza were Takashi doing that. So I don't know what happened with him. But yeah, they also replaced Samantha Kelly. That's pretty annoying, because apparently she didn't find out until the day Mario Kart World came out. You wonder how Nintendo kept that from her. Surely she would have known that they were doing a new Mario Kart. And like, Nintendo always gets new lines for Mario Kart. I don't think they ever recycle them, except in Mario Kart Live and Mario Kart Tour. I think that was a lot of recycled from Mario Kart 8. But yeah, I'm pretty sure Charles recorded new lines for every single Mario Kart he worked on. And for Mario Kart World, since it came so soon after the Mario movie, I think they just wanted to do a full refresh. Be like, okay, even Bowser's going to get some new lines now, even if they're just grunts rather than lines. But I think, Jeffel, what you're talking about Charles Martinet, as far as voicing other characters, he voiced the male Piantas in Super Mario Sunshine, as well as Baby Mario, Baby Luigi, Luigi, Wario, Waluigi, I think Baby Wario and Yoshi's Island DS, but I'm not sure if that game had voice acting. He also voiced all of the bosses, except for Birdo, in Super Mario Bros. 2 when that came out on the GBA. And he voiced the announcer and pretty much all of the opponents in Super Punch-Out. He was the announcer in Pac-Man Versus, which was an asymmetrical multiplayer take on Pac-Man. And they even let him do it in the Mario voice, too, which I thought was cute. And then he voiced Parthenax in Skyrim. So yes, he has voiced other characters, including other characters in Nintendo games, just not Donkey Kong. It's a Me Mario video? Interesting. What do you mean by the It's a Me Mario video? Because I don't remember that. Because if you're talking about Nintendo today, they asked Charles to like imitate the voices of all the characters that he did, and Donkey Kong wasn't on there. I think what you mean by that is that Mario's first game was Donkey Kong, but Charles wasn't voicing him at that point. It's a video about Charles Martinet interview about his voices, and it said that. Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, I'll have to look that up. That's fascinating. I just don't think he did it in any official Nintendo game. Because I'm pretty sure it was just Grant Kirkhope, and if it wasn't him, then it was stock noises, and then Takashi took over, and then Koji took over after the Mario movie. And then in the American Mario movie, it was Seth Rogen that played him. Which is a bit unfortunate that Seth Rogen did not return for the Galaxy movie. Because I know people said that, like, oh, Donkey Kong was just Seth Rogen playing himself, but I don't know. I think he was a good Donkey Kong. Either that or Seth Rogen is just a cool guy. I don't know. I like Donkey Kong in the movie. You can tell I'm getting a bit tired, guys, so I might be wrapping it up pretty soon. We will see how my voice feels. I'm also slightly distracted by the people upstairs. That could also be a contributing factor in my tiredness. Because I'm the type of guy that, like, if someone is talking to me while two other people are talking in the same room, it's really hard for me to focus. Because, like, I'm the type of guy where I am acutely aware of my five senses. And so, like, the slightest thing is different, and I notice it almost instantly. I'm usually that guy that my friends will point out a beautiful sunset, and I'll be like, I noticed that eons ago. I don't know why it took you so long to say that. I've had to tone it down recently because I've heard that people find that to be a bit rude. But yeah, I'm the type of guy that, like, even if someone gets new shoes, I will say, oh, I noticed you got new shoes. And they'll be like, oh my gosh, you're right. How did you know? And I'll be like, because your head is slightly taller than it was last time I saw you. So every little fluctuation, every little change, I usually pick up on it. And if I don't, it's a really off day. I've even been able to look at myself in the mirror and say, I think I put on 3 pounds. And then I got weighed shortly after that, and I put on 2.8 pounds. So I was pretty darn close in guessing almost exactly how much I weighed. And that's why it's hard to focus on two conversations at once. Is because I'm not the type of guy that hyper focuses. Oh, if only Melissa was here. She'd probably say something like, well, that means that you have extroverted intuition, not introverted, because you're looking at a bunch of things and not hyper focusing on one thing. Either that or I just don't have ADHD. Like, I've looked up the symptoms and I just don't really relate to a whole lot of it. Ooh, okay, I'm curious, Jevel. Go ahead and spill the beans. That's a figure of speech. It means go ahead and say it. Because I genuinely have no clue. Oh! Skylanders. Okay. You know what? I can believe that. I actually can believe that. Because I don't think Skylanders was made by Nintendo. Now I'm curious who voices Bowser in that game. Let me look that up. Do you know which Skylanders game it was? I think it was... Wait, no, you just said it. You said Skylanders Supercharged. Skylanders Supercharged voice cast. Now I am very, very curious. Alrighty. Alright, I'm on IMDb's page. I'm going to check that out. Let me make sure my face is in focus. Alright. Dave B. Mitchell. Okay, he plays Knuckles in the games. Laura Bailey. Okay. Troy Baker. Laura Bailey and Troy Baker. Every time I see their names in something, I think, oh, what a waste. Because they used to be in so many Nintendo games. J.B. Blanc. I've heard that name. I just don't know where he's from off the top of my head. Cam Clark. Okay. He was the Ninth Man in 999. Roger Craig Smith. Oh, he's the voice of Sonic. Very nice. Gray Delisle. I actually met her in person at Comic-Con. That's cool. Very cool. So far, I'm not seeing Charles on here. But I'm going to keep going just in case. Allie Hillis. Okay, she was the voice of Palutena in Kid Icarus Uprising. Ashley Johnson. That's a character in my book. I never thought there was a real person by that name. David Lodge. He was in Fire Emblem. Yuri Lowenthal, another Fire Emblem guy. I met his wife, Matt Mercer. Of course, Matt Mercer is in it. Matt Mercer's in everything. Kevin Michael Richardson. I think he was Kamek in the Mario movie. Let me make sure. Okay, no one's talking yet. Okay, Lanny Minnelli. That's a Professor Late. Max Middleman. Oh, Ryuji. Persona. Dang, they got a lot of big name actors in here. Tara Platt. I did meet her in person. Huh. Patrick Seitz. That's the voice of the Talking Flower. Keith Silverstein. That's Vector's voice actor in Sonic. Oh, turns out, yes, you are correct. He did. And Kenny James voiced Bowser. Takashi Nagasako. Oh, wait a minute. It lists both Charles Martinet and Takashi Nagasako as Donkey Kong. Okay. All right. Now we have to doubly fact check this. Because it's not clear which one of them did which. But hey, I learned something new. I might have to go replay Skylander Superchargers, because that would be cool if Charles was the voice of talking Donkey Kong, and all the grunts and stuff, like when he was punching, was just Takashi. Actually, let me see that I'm behind the voice actors. See if they have the same thing. Because sometimes they'll have conflicting information with IMDb. Because it said Charles Martinet was in Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, but I couldn't find anywhere else that verified that. All right. So I'm on IMDb, or not IMDb, behind the voice actors page. And I'm at the scene, or the site where it shows every single person who ever voiced in Skylanders. Not seeing Charles Martinet on here. Then again, they're also not showing Kenny James. Let me try Skylanders Supercharged. Huh, doesn't even have Supercharged on here. Huh, alright. Well, now I'm going to go down another rabbit hole of, yes, you did get me intrigued. Very good job, Jevel. Next, you'll tell me that there's a Zero Escape 4 on the horizon with your infinite knowledge. Granted, I'd be very surprised if you knew about Zero Escape. No, I take it back. I'm usually pretty late to the news about stuff. Usually I'll get an email from Peggle saying, "Hey, did you hear that there's a Nintendo Direct?" And I'm like, "There is? Okay, you got me." My chat indicator finally said that there were more than 2 people here. So, yeah, so the reason why Donkey Kong and Bowser are in that game is because they have amiibo figures. And I actually had I think it was the Donkey Kong amiibo from that game because I bought a Wii U set. It had the portal and it had the game and it had the amiibo. And so I was able to play as Donkey Kong in a Skylanders game and it was terrible. But I kept the amiibo until I had to do the purge. So I don't have it anymore. But if it hadn't been for the fact that I was just really poor and running out of money, I would have kept it. But at one point, I had, I think, 138 amiibos. Now I only have, I think, 8. Because I have Banjo and Kazooie, Noah, Mio, Byleth, Joker, Zelda from Tears of the Kingdom, and Zelda from Skyward Sword. Could have sworn there was one more besides that. Well, if I can think of them, I'll tell you. But at this point, the only time I'll ever collect amiibo is if someone gifts them to me or if I happen to have leftover money at a gift card or I don't know if it's like a birthday present. But even though I have made my email address public, I haven't made my address public. So I'm not currently at the point where I'm comfortable with people knowing where I live at this point. A couple of you do, but they've been nice enough to not squeal on me. Hello, Lodo DQ3. I'm going to call you Lodo unless if you have a nickname. I'm sorry about that, but glad you could make it in here. Have I seen the price of a secondhand 3DS these days? That is insane. I'm so glad I still have my new 3DS. I think I also have the old model as well. I just don't play it anymore because why would I? The new 3DS is clearly so much better. But I am at the point where I don't see the need to replay 3DS games for the foreseeable future just because my circle pad is pretty much completely totaled and the screen is so small. I think the novelty's kind of worn off, but I'm still not going to get rid of my 3DS because I have Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright day 1 copy. I even still have the receipt so that I can keep track of the day I bought it. But that's not my favorite 3DS game, though. My favorite 3DS game probably would be Zero Time Dilemma, I'd have to say. Probably an unpopular opinion, but I love Zero Time Dilemma way more than the internet does. Because I've played it maybe like 16 times myself, and then I've seen it like 3 or 4 other times on stream. Most people who hate that game have only played it twice. Tomodachi Life. Welcome in, Matthew. Or Matthew, however you say that. Trad cat. Okay, I don't get too many trad Catholics in here, so welcome in. What are some things that you really like to do besides Tomodachi Life? But yes, I will be playing the new version whenever it gets rented. Matthew. Okay, I have a brother named Matthew, so that should be easy to remember. You remember when Trap Team came out? I don't really remember Trap Team at all. I don't think it's an issue of me being able to repair it. I think it's an issue of some of the stuffing has come out, so now it's only the black part. Have I played Persona Q? I played Persona Q 2. I did not like it. Not my kind of game. Yes, you are correct, Jevil. I did write a novelization. I just can't say the name of it right now because that would spoil the game. But and don't you say it either, Jevil. But if you want to look it up for yourself, you can go to Archive of Our Own, and my pen name is Joseph Davidson. That's not my real name. That's just my pen name. But be warned, just reading the title of it spoils a major part of um, both Virtue's Last Reward and Zero Time Dilemma. So go into it with caution. But anyway, Lodo and Matthew, what are some great things that's happened to you guys lately, or girls? I don't know if you guys are guys or girls actually. So want to cover my bases. The game's been out. See, the thing is, Jevel, the Skylanders games were just so. The Skylanders games were so oversaturated when they came out that I just stopped paying attention to them. Plus, Nintendo Directs didn't really talk about them a whole lot. Like, they were more of a Hasbro thing. So that's probably why I didn't hear too much about them. You saw Ama get crucified on live TV? I don't know who Ama is, but that's terrible that they're still doing crucifixions nowadays. Oh, that's a real shame. Sorry to hear that. Oh, a man. Oh, yeah, that is still terrible. You got an analog pocket. I don't even know what an analog pocket is. You'll have to tell me what that is. But Game Boy games on the big screen. I do that on the Switch. I'm trying to think, are there any Game Boy games that haven't come out that I want to play? I don't know. I think they've got most of the big ones. They got Mario vs. Donkey Kong. They got, the Zelda games. Drill Dozer. I really want to play Drill Dozer. I played it before when it was on the Game Boy Advance, but I couldn't beat it because it was too hard. So thinking maybe if it has the rewind feature, maybe I'll be better. It's basically a fancy Game Boy Color with a nice LCD screen. Oh, you meant the Game Boy Pocket. Okay, I get it. Okay, very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I've never actually. I don't think I've ever actually owned a regular Game Boy. I know for a while I had a Game Boy Advance. I just never played it because for a while I had the Game Boy Player on my GameCube, and that was my introduction to playing Fire Emblem. It was through that and the DS. I never actually played Fire Emblem on an original Game Boy Advance model. I remember bragging to my friends that when you played Game Boy Advance games on the DS, you could close it, but you'd still be able to hear the music. So I would put on the soundtrack of the Fire Emblem games and say, look at this, guys. You can hear it coming out of the DS's speakers. Whew, boy, was I behind the times. Yoshi Topsy Turvy. I remember I reviewed that game quite a while ago. Don't watch it. It was terrible. And I thought I did not like it. I never end up beating it, though. Maybe I'll play it again if it ever comes to Switch Online, but I heard that not a whole lot of people liked it. That reminds me, now that you mentioned Yoshi Topsy Turvy, I would like to see WarioWare Twisted on the Game Boy Advance for the Switch. Because I've never played that game. I was a weirdo back in the day. I didn't like WarioWare that much by its own concept. Donkey Kong on Game Boy, I did play that one, and I found it a bit too hard for me, but in concept, I think it's brilliant. I'd like to see any Game Boy Advance game that uses tilt controls. I tried playing Kirby Tilt and Tumble. That one was a bit too hard, but again, I liked it in concept. Multiple twists in each level. Okay, well, I liked WarioWare Inc. Mega Micro Games, and I liked WarioWare Gold. I didn't even bother with WarioWare Move It. I just said, oh, that motion control nonsense is just, I had enough of that on the Wii. I'll do it if it's not too intrusive, like in Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. I think that's doable. But if the game's going to revolve around motion controls, that's where I put my foot down. I'm like, oh no. We're done with that. Did I secure my copy of Tomodachi Life? I have it game locked. So that means that it'll ship the day before it comes out. Doesn't mean I'll get it the day it doesn't mean that I'll get it the day that it comes out. It means it'll ship when it comes out. So I imagine I'll probably get it between 1 to 7 days after it comes out. But that's good enough for me. Tomodachi Life isn't the kind of game that I would say is a necessity for a day one purchase. Um, to me, it's like the definition of this is a Paul rental game because I need games with way more narrative to purchase it. I would say that a game that would warrant me purchasing it would be something like a new Fire Emblem, Zero Escape 4, um, probably a new Ace Attorney I'd want to buy. Maybe a new 3D Zelda, but then again, I didn't like Echoes of Wisdom. So we'll see. We'll see. You like picking the pretty dandelions that grow around and placing them in front of the Mater Maria statues around your house. Very nice. That's so cool. I wish I had dandelions where I live, but it is freezing cold right now, so pretty much nothing is growing. There's a lot of dead trees where I'm around. A new Punch-Out game. I really did like Punch-Out on the Wii. I do technically have it on the Wii U. I just never got around to re-reviewing it because I figured, one, my muscle memory's probably lost, and two, I didn't know how my audience would react to me beating up a bunch of guys in Speedos. I thought they might find that a little bit too, like, people have this double standard where they're okay with seeing girls in bikinis, but they're not cool with seeing guys in Speedos. And until we reach that point where people can see guys and girls' bodies the same way, I don't feel comfortable with making a re-review. They're everywhere in Louisiana. Louisiana is way hotter than where it is where I'm from, that's for sure. Beat Punch-Out on normal and then title defense? Very nice. I don't remember what difficulty I beat it on, but I remember it being pretty hard. Oh, I love Radiant Dawn. Radiant Dawn is my second favorite Fire Emblem at present, next to Path of Radiance. I used to say Radiant Dawn was better, but the reason why I've since changed my mind and think Path of Radiance is better is because Path of Radiance is more focused. Like, sure, it doesn't have all the perspective switching that made Radiant Dawn cool, but at the same time, like, usually when you do switch perspectives in Radiant Dawn, you get to, like, very under-leveled characters, and it becomes this huge difficulty spike, but then the very next level, you'll play with the characters you just were as, and they'll be overpowered. And I just don't think it's very newbie-friendly, so I'm hoping that they remake it, because they have Path of Radiance on Switch too, and, oh, it was glorious. Oh, I loved it. Very minimal complaints. Just don't watch Nintendo Life's review of it. They did a terrible job of explaining it. DK? Yes, I do remember Donkey Kong was a secret boss. Well, yeah, because girls are pretty? I think immodesty is a really complicated subject, and I vastly misunderstood it in my youth. So nowadays, I just say, don't try to make people want to have sex before they're married. And apart from that, I really don't care what you wear. Oh, and don't wear piercings. I also don't like that. But I think we need to get to a point where guys and girls are more equalized, but not in a sinful way. More of like a if a guy and a girl go to the beach, like, people should be seeing them the same, even though their anatomy is different. That's what I'm hoping for one of these days. Chibi Robo, I did play Chibi Robo on, I did play Chibi Robo both on the GameCube and the Switch too, and I didn't like it very much. I thought it was very repetitive, and it was like copying Majora's Mask in all the worst aspects of it. And the soundtrack was so bad. Let's not talk too much about piercings here, guys, because that's my worst fear. But uh, I had a really bad experience when I was a child, and now it grosses me out whenever I think about it. You played Path of Radiance for the first time 2 years ago. Yeah, no, that story is phenomenal. I think I might go so far as to say Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn combined have the second best story I've ever experienced in a medium. The first best is Zero Escape. Third best is Harry Potter. So you got Zero Escape, Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn, and then Harry Potter are like my three favorite stories in media. And Across the Spider-Verse, I think, would probably be another good one. Xenoblade Chronicles, I love that one. Uh, Persona 5 has a pretty good one, too. Ace Attorney, those are pretty good. Doki Doki Literature Club. I would say Stanley Parable, but that's more of a satire than a story. I like it when the game tries to pretend that there's a story, even though there isn't, and honestly, that made for some of the funniest jokes in the game, if I'm being honest. If I am in a relationship, it should come from something new than compared to something from your friendship. I don't know. I'd feel terrible if I just went up to a girl and just said, "Hey, you're cute, let's date." Like, I would feel like I'd just be using her at that point. Like, I never want to treat a girl like all she's good for is making babies and having sex. Like, that just feels like objectification. You like the story of 100 Line. So did I. I loved 100 Line Last Defense Academy, but the reason why I didn't put it on my best games of 2025 video is mainly because that hentai route was just so long and so pointless to the story. And it was just so slow and repetitive. Like, once I got like 3 or 4 endings, the game took way too long to be able to skip the cutscenes. They've since patched it, so maybe I'd change my mind if I go back to it. But it took me 3 months, 3 stinking months to get the true ending. And I feel like that's just way too long of a game. You have to make the first move as a guy. You know, actually, my ex-girlfriend, sort of asked me out first. I say sort of because she said that she liked me, and she was wondering why I didn't hurry up and just ask her out. I said, "Let me think about it and see if it's God's will." And then eventually I did ask her out. And it didn't work out very well. It worked out great for like the first couple of months, but then it just plummeted from there. But we had some good times, and we're still friends. We just don't talk very much anymore because um, she's got a lot of problems that I don't want to say here. And I don't think she'd see my messages very much just because I think she'd be too busy dealing with her problems. But I'm the type of guy that I never want to date a girl if there's even the slightest possibility that breaking up is also going to mean our friendship breaks up. So whenever I go into a relationship, it's always you gotta be friends for the long run. Do I like any girls at my church? No, because all of them are just way too young. They're all like high school and under, and then like the older women are like way too old. There's really no one that's like my age at my church at this point. Honestly, I wouldn't even want to date at that church to begin with, just because I feel like I'm a nervous wreck when it comes to talking to people at that church. And when I do talk to people, it's usually like in the context of like I'm an assistant teacher to fourth and fifth graders. So like sometimes I'll say hi to the kids I teach. Sometimes I'll say hi to like say someone's at the gym, but again, they're either way too young or way too old. And plus, even if they weren't way too young or way too old, I'm just not interested. I just don't see that person as someone I'd be married in the long term, even if age difference wasn't a factor. Because it feels too formulaic if you start as a friend and then you become more than that. Honestly, I have met more than enough girls who started out as friends with their husbands, and they ended up being some of the happiest couples I've ever seen. So that's my perspective. Women love older men. Yeah, I have noticed that. Doesn't seem to be the case with me though. Like there were there were a couple of girls that had underage crushes on me, on some of the things I chaperoned, but I just never let them entertain the idea. I just said, nope. Everyone underage is very off limits. I am not going to be accused of that kind of nonsense. And um, the more mission trips I went on, the more I would go out of my way to say it ahead of time. Like, I wouldn't even give people the opportunity to mistake me for being younger. Like, I'm pretty sure on my most recent mission trip, I said something along the lines of, like, hey, I'm an adult chaperone, and hey, I'm this old, and I can help teach you about the camp, and I can guide you on the faith, but relationships are out of the question. You're just way too young. But no, if I were to date a girl, she would have to be, and again, I don't like revealing my age in public, but she would have to be like within a couple of years of my age, and I don't have anyone that's available and that's also heterosexual. Like technically, I have a female friend of mine who is within my age range, but she's asexual and doesn't want to date anyone, and I respect that. I don't really want to date her either. I think we're perfectly fine being friends, and it's cool being friends with her because I know that she'll always treat me as a friend because she's asexual, and there's like a certain security to that. Yeah, no, I would never date an 18 or 19-year-old. Um, I don't want to say what's the best youngest age for me because again, I don't want to reveal my age in public, but I certainly wouldn't want to date an 18 or 19-year-old because they haven't developed their emotional maturity. So, you can keep guessing all you want, Jevil, but unless you know me in person, you're probably just going to keep guessing. But I have had people that mistake me as a teenager on several occasions, and I have to be very clear that to say, like, yeah, I know I look young, but no, very much not a teenager. All that water? Are you sure that's all it is? Pretty sure it's also that I wash my hair every 2 days, which I just found out yesterday is the healthy thing to do. You don't want to wash it every day. I also go to the dermatologist, so that's like skincare and hair care. I've been cutting my nails pretty rigorously ever since I started playing the guitar. And I also walk to and from the gym, so it's an active effort to look young. I don't think it's entirely genetics. It's partially genetics, though, because my mom often gets mistaken for being much younger. In fact, she was mistaken for so young that one time she and my brother were going shopping together and they thought she was my brother's girlfriend. That's how young they mistook her for. You wouldn't date until you have a steady job and home and are able to provide for a family. Yeah, I don't have that luxury at this point. I don't want to go into too many details, but I wouldn't be able to have all that stuff that you mentioned, Matthew. Don't want to get rid of the natural oils in your hair? Good to know. Good to know. My favorite game is Banjo Kazooie. I said my favorite game is Tears of the Kingdom, silly. Where'd you get that idea? Ay, ay, ay. But no, I love Banjo Kazooie, but it's far from my favorite. I still think that Rusty Bucket Bay's engine room is an abomination of game design. And I'm very thankful that on the Switch 2 you can rewind. Because the engine room in Rusty Bucket Bay is the only time in the entire game where there's a bottomless pit. And considering that Banjo Kazooie on the Nintendo 64 doesn't save your musical notes in your Jinjos, it's just like, why there? The final level doesn't even have a bottomless pit. It just feels like an unnecessary difficulty spike, and then the level after that is way too easy. Either that or I'm just good, but I never found the hate of the last level of Banjo Kazooie. I always loved it, and I zoomed through it. Again, maybe I was just a prodigy, but all these people that said it was too hard, I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I love this level. Current plan is either seminary or majoring in history. I took classes at a seminary, but it wasn't to be a priest. It was to get certification to be a youth minister. It didn't work out, but I kept the knowledge from the seminary. And there are so many people that'll say, like, dang, Paul, you have so much knowledge, you can even surpass Catholic teachers. So if you're ever curious about like certain Bible verses that you might not understand, just ask me and I'll do what I can. I wouldn't even say Banjo-Kazooie is one of my favorites. Like, okay, off the top of my head, let me list games that I like better than Banjo-Kazooie. A Link Between Worlds, Twilight Princess, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright, all the Zero Escape games, Doki Doki. Yeah, I think I would say Doki Doki Literature Club Plus is better. Stanley Parable, um, Path of Radiance, Radiant Dawn, Three Houses, both the GBA Fire Emblems, um, Nirvana Initiative, probably the first, no, not the first Somnium Files, just Nirvana Initiative. Yeah, just to name a few. Donkey Kong Bonanza, that's another good one. Banjo-Kazooie is one of my favorite platformers. I think the only platformers I would say I like better than Banjo-Kazooie are probably Super Mario Odyssey, the Galaxy games, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and a few of the Sonic games. Probably only, no, I take that back. Sonic Generations has Planet Wisp. So, okay, I take that back. I do like Banjo-Kazooie better than Sonic Generations. Mm. But, I think as far as my secret to looking young, I think the other trick is that I am an optimist. And they say that optimism really does help you age slowly. Have I ever owned a Dreamcast? Unfortunately, no, because I've heard Sonic Adventure was pretty good. I did play Sonic Adventure 2 Battle on the GameCube, but I never beat it. But I will try it again if it ever gets ported. That being said, I did own a PlayStation at one point. I didn't have too many games for it, but I got rid of it because the games were too hard. I have at some point owned most Nintendo systems, but there was usually a catch to it. Like, I owned an NES for a while, but then I also had an NES Classic Edition. I had an SNES Classic Edition, but never an SNES. I had a Nintendo 64 for the longest time. Had a GameCube, a Game Boy Player, so that was like how I played most Game Boy games. I had a Game Boy Advance, but I never used it. A DS, I had the original model DS. I never had a Lite, never had a DSi, the original DS. I've had a 3DS, a new 3DS, the Wii, the Wii U, the Switch, and the Switch 2. The only Nintendo systems I've never had are the Virtual Boy, the Game Boy, and the Game Boy Color. When I played Donkey Kong Bonanza, I've never been tempted to eat a banana when I play Bonanza. I don't know why. I guess because the bananas are all crystallized. That, and I'm not the biggest fan of bananas. Like, I really only eat them for the sake of health. But, like, if I were to eat any kind of food that's, like, healthy, I would say protein bars, yogurts, strawberries, raspberries. I'd pick those over bananas any day. Celery, raisins, grapes. Yeah, bananas on the lower end of my fruit preferences. You have a bad habit of replaying video games you've already beat instead of finishing first playthroughs. Yeah, I have the opposite problem, where I used to like replay games all the time. But now I have the problem of I don't think I replay games enough, because now that I have a YouTube channel, I want to tell people about the newest games and get rid of the narrative that the Switch 2 has no games. Because, like, are you kidding me? Sure, it may not have a whole lot of Switch 2 exclusives, but what you gotta remember is that it's backwards compatible. Like, the Switch has a ridiculous amount of games that you could be playing right now. I do love sour fruit. Get me sour candies and you'll always see me smiling. Will I play Elden Ring? Probably not. Because I think I've mentioned on a few occasions that I don't like games that are too hard. I like creating my own difficulty. So I've heard that Elden Ring is like one of those extremely punishing games where you're like supposed to die against the final boss, or sorry, the first boss. Just doesn't seem like my kind of thing. Unless if there's a mode where you can just ride the horse all around the open world, then maybe I'd play it. I just certainly wouldn't review it. So my chest is starting to get a bit sore. Um, um, it's a thin person problem. Like when your rib cage sticks out too much, sometimes it can press against your stomach if you're sitting the wrong way. So I might have to call it on those grounds. Have I ever played COD World at War? Do you mean Call of Duty World at War? Because if so, there's only one Call of Duty game I played, but you'd probably laugh at what I actually played in that game. So my sister was playing it. Why didn't I have the stream like this the whole time? I am such an idiot. I just decided to put it down on my foothold, and now I feel way more comfortable. I played a Call of Duty game. I don't know what it was. My sister was playing the story mode, and she had trouble jumping into a helicopter. And she said, Paul, you're good at platformers and video games in general. You think you can do it? And after, I think it was the second try, I got used to the controls and I jumped into the helicopter. And then I handed her back the controller and I said, yeah, I'm not good at shooters, so you play the rest of it. So I jumped into a helicopter in Call of Duty, and that was the most I ever did. As far as other third-party games I think I played Ridge Racer 3D when it came to the PSP. I played Ratchet & Clank Future, Tools of Destruction. I actually really liked that game. If it ever gets ported over to the Switch, you know I'm gonna love it. I played a lot of Crash Bandicoot and Spyro. I played Dark Cloud 2. That was pretty fun. I never owned it, though. My friend Brittany played it. They make you play as the bad guy. That stinks. Oof. Oh, my chest is really sore. Like I said, thin people problems. When I would be at my job and I'd be like leaning over the machines to clean them, like my rib cage would just get crushed on the bars of the treadmills, and I would be in so much pain. Sleeping on my stomach can also be a problem as well. All right, guys, I think I'm going to call it here. I'm just in too much pain to continue. So before I go, was there any pressing questions you wanted to ask or like big news you wanted to share as I wrap it up? I also haven't eaten dinner, so that's another excuse why I should probably get going. Yeah, thanks for coming in, Lodo. Glad that you had such good questions. I honestly really like that. That's why I'm hoping I'll get a Comic-Con booth one day. Gate Zero Experience, the Bible history? I'll have to look into that if it's on the Switch. But I know that Bible games have a history of not being good. So we will see if I end up actually liking one. Well, let me do the usual, thanking everyone that came in. Thank you, Jevel, Lodo DQ3, Math. There were two Matthews that came in. So we have Tradcath Matthew and Matthew Rakowski. Pretty sure that's... Oh, no, Kevin. Kevin came in earlier. So thank you, Kevin. Let's see here. At one point, Gordon came in. Only said, who is Esabelle? Hope I didn't scare him or her away. I will say, for the record, though, Esabelle is not my girlfriend. Oh, Leo is here. Sorry, I forgot about that. Leo, yes. Esabelle is not my girlfriend, she's not my fiancée, and she's not my wife. In fact, she is actually engaged right now. So I just ask that you guys will wish her the best of luck with the man that she ends up loving. If you want to know what he looks like, you can watch my Best Memories of 2025 video, because he gave consent to be on the camera. But she is still good with just being friends, and I'm totally cool with that. All right, guys. Time for dinner. So you all have a great rest of your day. And until the next time, remember to keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Bye. Here we go.